This is the Haulin Assets podcast where we show you how to start and run your own trucking company. Ever wanted to go out on your own? Follow Chris as he goes through the highs and lows of running on his own authority. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Haulin Assets podcast. This is episode number 68. I am Craig, and he is...
Chris.
Chris.
Still Chris. Yep, haven't changed.
Joining remotely. Today we're doing this remote, so if it sounds a little different than normal, that would be why. Today we are going to be talking about December financials. Now, I'm excited for this because, Chris, you've been building up December as, you know, the best month of all because of the Christmas traffic and the rates going up and all that stuff. So I'm expecting amazing things. But before we get to that, I'll remind everybody to go to haulinassetsllc.com for full show notes, links to the information that we provide here. We're going to be talking about a lot of numbers in this episode like we do in all of our financial episodes. So you can follow along with the profit and loss statement, with the balance sheet at haulinassetsllc.com and just look for this episode's show notes. You can also find us on Facebook, and either way, whether you go to the website or the Facebook group, just drop us a line. Let us know what you want to hear us talk about. If you have any questions, any comments on this or past episodes, we would love to hear them. Now, Chris, December numbers, we're going to get there in a moment, but how's your January looking? Is 2021 just the shining star compared to the deep dark 2020 that we all had?
Well, I'll tell you what, trucking is starting off better than everything else, you know, especially when you look back east, how that stuff's going right now. So yeah, we not much competition. You know, it's been a pretty good month so far compared to what's going on with politics right now.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear that the stuff that we actually care about for the purposes of this show are going well.
It's crazy because January is usually, you know, we talked about December is always a really, really good month. Well, this December was no exception, a really good month at the end of a really good year as far as rates go. Rates have just been climbing all of 2000. And it's didn't slow down in December. So December was just, rates were phenomenal. And for January, rates are still looking really, really good. Usually, you know, you see a pretty good dip in January, not really seeing it, maybe a little bit, not quite as crazy as things were in December, but this January is better than most other months in a normal year. So that's definitely a good thing.
Good. Well, I'm glad to hear it. Well, I guess we're not technically here to talk about January's numbers, although that does make me interested to get to next month so we can talk about January. But for now, let's get to our main topic for today, which is how did December go? Short story, the short version, Chris. Did it deliver on the promise you gave me?
I did. It was a good month. Yeah.
Good.
It beat November. Wasn't that the promise?
Well, November was the month with what was it, $6,000 in repairs,
it was a bad month as far as had a loss. There was a ton of repairs, and this month was to a great extent the exact opposite. We'll get a little bit into the numbers. We'll talk a little bit about some of the specifics when we get into the P&L, but it was definitely better than November.
Good. Well, yeah, let's talk about what you were able to do this month as a company, how long you got out on the road, how far you went. Now, normally your miles that you run, you're shooting for 12,000 miles a month, something like that.
Yeah. And this month we did 8,719. So that was a little bit lower than your average month, you know, a couple thousand miles lower than where we would really like to be. But, overall, that wasn't too bad, you know, and a lot of that was just because of Christmas, you know, kind of the way the route Mike was on this December, we ended up getting him home a day or two earlier than we would have liked to. And he took a little bit longer of a Christmas than normal. So he didn't, and we got a really good load that left a day later than we would have liked to, but it was worth waiting because it, left a little bit. It was so good. It was worth waiting a little bit for.
Yeah, absolutely. And then of those, how many of them ended up being deadhead miles?
481, so a little bit over 5%. So still, that's pretty good.
Yep. Anything on that under 10 is pretty good, right?
Yeah, 10's kind of the worst of where we would like to be. We definitely want to stay under that 10. So 5% is definitely a good month.
Okay, very good. So, what did you end up? Well, I guess we're going to get to the total revenue mile, but how did the rate per mile end up this month? That's one thing that you said generally looks really good in December. How did it go?
It was the best we've ever had. So the total revenue was $21,400. That puts the all-in rate, deadhead, and loaded miles combined at $2.45 a mile.
Dang.
So, you're thinking about, if you remember, our fixed costs kind of fluctuate between 160 and 180 a mile. So 245 is pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've been talking for a while about if you hit 180, you can probably be profitable. You want it better than that in the long term, but 180 is, as I recall, kind of your minimum number. And so 245 sounds pretty darn good.
Yeah, that leaves a little bit of room for error, we'll say.
But you don't make those, right, Chris? We talked about that last week. No financial
Um,
errors.
I wish that was the case.
So you said it was a little bit of a shorter month because of Christmas. And so does that mean you were out on the road fewer days as well than normal, not just fewer miles?
Yeah, it is. Mike was on the road for 15 full days and 3 partial days, and he's usually closer to 20 full days. The three to 5 partials pretty normal. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely not as many days on the road. But just because rates were as good as they were, still able to pull in a healthy profit. The profit for the month was $6,040.36, which is definitely above average, and in fact one of our better months since we've been in business.
And part of that, I'm sure, wasn't just that fantastic rate per mile. I mean, you kind of hinted at this earlier. You said that it was the opposite of November when you had, crazy expensive repairs to deal with. Does that mean you didn't really have anything in December to bring that profit down?
Yeah, nothing super significant. So we did have a little bit of maintenance and repairs in December. $335 of maintenance and $498 of repairs, and most of that actually was just parts. The labor piece of that is going to hit in January. So I already know we're going to see some labor or some maintenance and repair expenses in January, but hopefully nothing too crazy. The truck's actually been doing a really good job lately. Haven't had any major issues. Part of the labor and repairs also that we're going to see in December, or the maintenance, is I just today actually the truck had all the brakes and drums replaced on it. Just
Yeah, that'll do
part
it.
of, yeah, not super cheap, but it's part of your regular maintenance. It's something
Mm-hmm.
that it's going to happen, and that's a part that wears out and has to be replaced on a somewhat regular basis.
Good. Well, is there anything from our December numbers here that you want to pull out as kind of a lesson to talk about or something to summarize? Uh, or is it just, hey, December delivers? That's what happens every year.
That's December does deliver. That's a good way to put it. No, nothing on top of that. Just it's one of those things. We did a good job this month. Had some good money coming in. So that means you don't need to go blow it all on Christmas presents.
Well, I do, but that's only because I love to treat myself, Chris. Okay.
Treat
Uh,
yourself.
That's right. That's right. Then let's get to our next segment. This is a segment that we introduced in our last episode, but we kind of did a full episode version of it. But Chris, you want to do impact tips. So for anybody who missed the last episode, maybe this is your first time listening, the impact tip is going to be something short and pithy that Chris is going to share, and that thing is going to help you out in your quest to be the best business owner you can be. But we may expound on that for a few minutes. So, Chris, what do you got for me today for our impact tip?
So this is one that I see as a very, very common mistake, and something that I can't emphasize enough how important it is. And we've talked a little bit about it, over the last year or two. But it's basically, you can't use your checking account balance to decide if you're making money or if you have money to spend. I see people do that all the time. They look and they see a bunch of money in their checking account. They're like, oh, we must be making money. Or they say, oh, we've got some money, let's go spend it. That's not a good way to conduct business because, as we've talked about, you've got fluctuations. And so, this month we may see, $6,000 come in, and next month we may see an extra $4,000 in repairs going out. And so you cannot use that. And the way cash flow works, there are ups and downs and peaks and valleys. And sometimes you can get a false sense of security with a little bit more money in your account than normal, but it's not an indication of whether you're profitable or not. That's why, this impact tip really boils down to is you've got to have a good accounting system for your business.
I mean, that's seems to sum it up pretty well. I would echo that from the personal side of things. Even if somebody isn't running their business yet, they're still just thinking about starting their trucking business. Look at your personal finances and you can see this principle at play. It's all about cash flow and understanding how your cash flow works, and just like for your business. So when you do start that business, you better have those habits in place and understand how that cash flow affects not just your day-to-day, but your long-term financial situation.
Yeah, and this is, I don't want to go into it in this big of a detail, but one thing that a lot of people don't realize is there's a big difference between cash flow and profitability. There are times when you may have good cash flow coming into your business, but not necessarily good profitability. And it can kind of work in reverse too. And so sometimes that extra cash flow coming in can give you a false sense of security that's not really there. That's why a good accounting system that will let you get a good, clean, accurate profit and loss statement every month, that's what really is going to give you the indication of whether your business is healthy or not. And that will help you base the decisions you make on your business based on facts rather than just speculation. And that really, if you're just kind of using your checking account balance to make decisions, that you're speculating. That's pure speculation, and you just can't do that.
Well, there you go. I hope that kicks some people's brains into gear. Just a quick little tip. Don't use your checking account balance to decide if you're making money or if you have money to spend. Chris, anything else for today?
Just on a side note with that, one other thing that kind of just popped into my mind with that, and I've talked a little bit about this too in the past, but another really good benefit of that good accounting system is it helps you when you go to get financing, because you can provide a bank a good, clean profit and loss statement, a balance sheet. That shows them that you've got your stuff together, you know what you're doing, you're running a tight ship, a clean business, and they're much more likely to lend you money at favorable rates versus the guy that just has no idea what's going on.
Right. Just, you hand out or put your hand out and say, give me money. You're going to be asked some questions. You better be able to answer. Fantastic. All right. Well, hopefully that helps give an idea of what Haulin Assets month looked like. I love doing these financial episodes, partly because they're short and sweet, and partly because if people keep listening to them, they get a really good idea of how those ups and downs that you're talking about can go, Chris. It kind of really ties into this, actually, this concept that you're talking about. So thank you, everybody, for listening today. And make sure that, again, you go to HaulinAssetsLLC.com and go to Facebook. Find us on Facebook at Haulin Assets. And leave us a comment. Like I said, leave a comment or a question, anything you want us to address during these episodes. We would love to hear from you. So, Chris, I guess I'll see you in a week or two.
See you next time.